They called the cops on me while I was standing in the middle of a golf course that didn't legally exist, and the moment the sheriff showed up, the HOA president started screaming for my arrest. By the time the sheriff finished cutting through the barricade tape near the 7th fairway, the HOA president was already in full meltdown. "That man destroyed our property! Arrest him now!" Patricia Daniels stabbed a glossy fingernail in my direction like it was a weapon. Behind her, half a dozen stunned golfers stood frozen in pastel polos, staring at the wide, trench sliced straight through what used to be flawless green turf. I didn't deny it. I used my late father's tractor to dig that trench. To them, it was vandalism. To me, it was taking back what was stolen. The deputy turned to me. "Sir, are you saying this entire area belongs to you?" I opened the battered folder. I always kept in my truck, the same one that sat inside my dad's gun safe for decades, and handed it over. Inside were original deeds, survey maps, and county stamps dating back years. "Yes," I said. "They built a golf course on my ranch, and then they sent me the bill." Patricia gasped like I had insulted royalty. "That land belongs to Crescent Mesa Estates," she argued loudly. "It's our designated recreational zone according to HOA bylaws." The deputy flipped through the documents slowly, stopped, and then looked back at her with tired eyes. "Ma'am, you should probably contact a lawyer." That's when I knew this mess was finally coming to light. "My name's Caleb Rios. After my father passed, I inherited nearly 400 acres of ranch land just outside Sycamore Mesa, one of the last untouched properties before cookie-cutter developments swallowed everything. Around us, Dad never sold. "Land never grows back," he used to say. So I stayed. Life was simple. Remote tech work in the mornings, fence repairs in the heat of the afternoon, and quiet evenings on the porch, listening to coyotes howl. Then the mail started. At first, glossy HOA flyers, community BBQs, fitness clubs, exclusive amenities. Ignored them, but one envelope wasn't friendly. Notice of unpaid HOA assessments. That was my first encounter with Patricia. She showed up with 2 board members, clutching clipboards like warrant papers. "Your land falls under our Phase 3 development expansion," she declared, "which makes you subject to HOA dues." Laughed. "This ranch has been here longer than your subdivision." She produced paperwork claiming my property had been absorbed into their master plan, except I never signed anything, and neither did my father. She quickly moved on to demands. Replace my barbed wire fencing with white vinyl, repaint my barn, remove hay bales from public view, and limit livestock activity. I refused. The letters escalated. Threats came next. Then one morning, I looked out and saw heavy machinery crossing my boundary fence. 2 weeks later, turf replaced dirt. Concrete foundations appeared. They were building a golf course on my ranch. My calls to Patricia went nowhere until the foreclosure notice landed on my kitchen table. Total due $148,000 that night. I made a decision. No more paperwork, no more arguing. It was time to reclaim my land. The HOA calls the police, claiming I'm armed and dangerous. But what I handed the deputies flips the entire situation upside down. The first sign showed up bolted to my gate. "No. Trespassing. Home members only." Stared at it in disbelief. Gate, my fence, my land, I tore it down. The next morning, 3 more signs replaced it, along with a heavy steel lock, securing the gate shut. So that evening, I cut the lock off, swung the gates open, and drove my truck straight through like nothing had changed. That's when Patricia escalated from paperwork to police. Later that night, she called 911, claiming an unstable, armed trespasser was threatening homeowners near the clubhouse. Within minutes, 3 sheriff's cruisers rolled onto the property, was sitting calmly on my tractor, grading the old dirt road my father built years before any HOA even existed. My legal sidearm stayed holstered at my hip, untouched and fully registered. Patricia stood on the clubhouse balcony, pointing at me like a villain on cue. "That's the man. He keeps trespassing on HOA land." The deputies approached carefully. "Sir, can we see some ID?" I handed them my license, then the deed, then my newest weapon. A thick stack of documented complaints from the county recorder. zoning office, and state HOA oversight. Board. One of the deputies raised an eyebrow. You've been busy, I nodded. Before deciding who's trespassing on whom, you might want to speak to the county attorney. They actually did. 20 minutes later, the radio on the deputy's vest crackled. Everything changed. He turned toward Patricia slowly, his face now tight with professional restraint. Ma'am, it appears every structure behind you, the clubhouse, the fairways, all of it was built on land that doesn't belong to your HOA. The color drained from her face. Following weeks triggered a domino. Collapse. County. Investigators opened a zoning inquiry. The state real estate commission demanded documentation. Emails began circulating with phrases no HOA president ever wants attached to their name. Fraudulent misrepresentation. Unauthorized construction. Turns out Patricia had already been warned months earlier that the HOA's expansion onto my ranch wasn't legally approved. The county never stamped the plat. MAPCO, and neither my father nor I authorized any easement, yet she moved forward. Anyway, she sold homeowners on glossy brochures advertising a luxury Crescent Mesa country club. She collected special assessments to fund construction. She signed contracts pretending to control land she had zero legal authority over. When the HOA's lawyers were forced to present proof of ownership, all they had was Patricia's homemade assumption memo, basically a wish list of what she wanted the HOA to control. The room went silent, and then the homeowners started asking questions that quickly turned into anger, directed straight at Patricia. Meanwhile, law enforcement finally started looking at me, not as the suspect, but as the victim. The investigation goes public, lawsuits explode, and the HOA president learns why stealing land carries real consequences. The situation exploded once a local investigative reporter got hold of the case. 2 weeks after the deputies confronted Patricia, the evening news aired a headline that spread through town like wildfire. HOA accused of building golf course on wrong property. Aerial footage painted the perfect picture. My wide brown ranch sliced through with artificial green fairways like duct tape slapped over a wound. Cameras caught Patricia storming away from reporters shouting, "No comment. This is being handled internally." It wasn't. My inbox flooded with emails from attorneys wanting to represent me. Hired Neil Harper, a calm, soft-spoken real estate lawyer who reviewed the stack of HOA documents and shook his head. "This isn't just civil liability," he said quietly. "This could cross into criminal territory. We launched a lawsuit. Immediately, trespass, fraud, slander of title, unjust enrichment, all of it directly naming Patricia as the officer who authorized the illegal construction. At the same time, the county fined the HOA for unpermitted building. The state issued a formal complaint. Homeowners filed a massive class action lawsuit demanding refunds for the assessments Patricia had collected. The shiny grand opening gala for the country club quietly disappeared from their calendar. And then came the court order. One cloudless morning, I walked onto the 7th fairway with Neil, 2 county officials, and a sheriff's deputy. Patricia stood on the clubhouse balcony, shaking with rage. "You're trespassing!" she screamed. "This is private HOA property." Neil handed her the judge's ruling. "As of today," he said politely, "the court officially recognizes Mr. Rios as the sole owner of this land. All HOA usage must cease immediately." Reality hit her in real time. Her support vanished just as quickly. Board members resigned overnight, distancing themselves. Text messages turned over to investigators showed they had questioned the legality for months. Patricia simply ignored the warnings. The final blow landed during a chaotic homeowners meeting, accidentally live-streamed on social media, with over 90% of residents voting to remove Patricia from office immediately. The board also banned her permanently from holding any HOA authority. That wasn't even the end. During the investigation, auditors discovered Patricia had secretly borrowed show money to fund her personal legal defense. Criminal charges followed. She pleaded guilty to misappropriation of funds and fraudulent misrepresentation. Sentence was handed down 3 months Later, 18 months in county. Jail 3 years. Probation $73,000 restitution to homeowners $56,000 in state fines. When the judge finished reading, Patricia whispered, "I was protecting my community." The judge replied coldly, "You were stealing from it," as deputies escorted her out of the courtroom. I didn't cheer, I just exhaled. The HOA's insurer offered me a settlement soon, after a massive payout plus acknowledgement of full ownership. But I went further. Instead of tearing everything down, I turned the fake country club into something real, a public co-op ranch space. Community gardens replaced sand traps. Goats grazed on the fairway. Families picnic where golfers once pretended to belong. Membership costs $20 a year or volunteer. Hours, no board, no HOA. Politics, no exclusion. Just people sharing land that never should have been taken in the first place. Dad would have loved it. Sometimes the biggest win isn't revenge. It's turning stolen land into something the whole community can finally enjoy. If you enjoyed this story, if it frustrated you, inspired you, or reminded you that standing your ground still matters, don't forget to support the channel, like the video so the story can reach more people, share it with someone who needs a reminder to fight back when pushed, and most importantly, subscribe so you won't miss the next true style story where justice actually wins, because sometimes the world's biggest bullies aren't criminals or corporations. They're people hiding behind clipboards and fake rules until someone finally says, "No,